The grand crystalline hall of the Zephyrian Palace stretched endlessly before Nox, its translucent walls refracting light into 1,000 dancing rainbows. He stood among hundreds of delegates from across the galaxy, each one dressed in their finest ceremonial attire, each one desperately hoping to be chosen. Nox tugged at the collar of his Earth diplomatic uniform, feeling utterly out of place among beings with iridescent skin, multiple limbs, and bioluminescent markings. This was the choosing ceremony, an event that occurred once every 100 years. The Zephyrian Queen's offspring would select a guardian from another world, someone who would guide them through their formative years and serve as a bridge between the Zephyrian Empire and their home planet. It was the highest honor in the known universe, one that brought prosperity, knowledge, and alliance to the chosen one's entire civilization that Nox hadn't wanted to come. He was just a junior diplomat, barely 25, sent here because everyone more important had prior commitments. Translation: they didn't want to waste their time on a ceremony where Earth had zero chance of being selected. Humanity was new to the galactic stage, primitive compared to civilizations that had mastered interstellar travel millennia ago. The Queen herself was a being of ethereal beauty, her form constantly shifting between solid and translucent, like living water frozen in an elegant silhouette. She stood upon the central dais, her child beside her, a small, shimmering figure no larger than a human 5-year-old. Though Nox knew the child was far more ancient and intelligent than any Earth child could ever be. Let the choosing begin. The Queen's voice resonated through every atom in the hall. Not heard but felt, the child, whose name translated roughly to Lumina in human speech, stepped forward. Every delegate straightened, their various forms of posture adjustment creating a wave of movement through the crowd. Nox could feel the desperation in the air, the weight of entire civilizations resting on this single moment. Lumina began to walk through the crowd, her small form glowing brighter with each step. She passed the ambassador from Crick 7, whose people had won the last 3 choosings. She glided past the representative from the ancient Valorian Empire, whose military might protected half the galaxy. She moved through rows of beings whose names Nox couldn't even pronounce, each one more qualified, more important, more everything than him. Then she stopped. Nox didn't notice at first. He was too busy observing the architectural marvel of the hall, trying to memorize details for his report back to Earth, a report that would likely be filed away and forgotten. But he felt a warmth, a presence that made his skin tingle. He looked down. Lumina stood directly in front of him, her large, opalescent eyes staring up with an intensity that seemed to peer into his very soul. The entire hall fell silent, not the silence of anticipation, but the silence of shock. This one. Lumina's voice chimed like crystal bells. This one has what I seek. The Queen herself seemed surprised, her form rippling with what might have been confusion. Child, are you certain? This being is from Earth, a world barely past its infancy in cosmic terms. I am certain, Mother. Lumina reached up, and without thinking, Nox extended his hand. Her small fingers wrapped around his, and suddenly his mind exploded with visions, not images, but feelings, concepts, entire philosophies transmitted in an instant. He saw loneliness. Despite being surrounded by the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, Lumina was isolated. Every delegate who came before her saw only opportunity, only what they could gain. They approached with calculated respect, measured words, diplomatic smiles that hid selfish intent. They saw a prize to be won, a tool to elevate their status. But Nox had been different. He hadn't come seeking glory. He'd stood in that hall feeling small, inadequate, out of place, the same way Lumina felt among beings who claimed to understand her, but never truly tried. In his genuine humility, his honest assessment of his own ordinariness, she had found something precious: authenticity. He does not seek to use me, Lumina announced to the hall. He does not see me as a path to power. He sees me as I am, a child seeking understanding, not worship, a being seeking friendship, not servitude. The Crixian ambassador stepped forward, his metallic features twisted in protest. Your Majesty, surely you cannot allow this. Earth has nothing to offer the Empire. They have no advanced technology, no significant military. No, they have something we have forgotten: the Queen interrupted, her voice carrying a note of sadness. "They have the capacity for wonder without calculation. They can love without agenda." She turned to Knox, and he felt the weight of her ancient gaze. "Young human, do you accept this responsibility? To guide my child not as a diplomatic asset, but as a guardian guides one they cherish?" Knox's mind raced. This was beyond anything he'd imagined. Earth would become important overnight. Resources, technology, protection, everything would change. But as he looked down at Lumina, at the hope shining in her eyes, he realized that none of that mattered in this moment. "I accept," he said simply, "not for Earth's benefit, though that will come, but because no child, regardless of their origin, should feel alone." Lumina's form blazed with joy, her light filling the entire hall. And in that moment, Knox understood that sometimes the greatest qualifications weren't knowledge or power or experience. Sometimes, what the universe needed most was simply an open heart and the courage to care without conditions. As the hall erupted in whispers and the Queen smiled for the first time in centuries, Knox squeezed Lumina's hand gently, and together, they began a friendship that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what truly mattered.